As we all know by now, I'm a masturbator. I posted on Twitter that 2026 was going to be the worst year in recent memory for the Pokemon TCG when it comes to new cards. That's because we're losing 1,000 of them when all the G-Block cards rotate later this month, and we're on pace for just 500 new ones this year. People were upset by my comment, arguing that smaller sets meant less bulk. Well, the fact that I struggled to make a top 10 list for the best perfect order cards should tell you that we're still getting a high percentage of bulk. I'd be ecstatic like I just made physical contact with a Pikachu if this was a quality over quantity situation. Because I'm apparently a crazy person for thinking each new set should be made up of at least 25% meta-relevant cards. In reality, perfect order is closer to 10%, which is more than 10% of the entire set list because if you haven't noticed, there's just 88 cards in the entire thing. But enough about the bad. While there isn't a whole lot to get excited about in our new set launching on March 26 in TCG Live, the first few on this list will massively improve several different decks. Obviously at number 1 we have Meowth EX. You can tell someone's new to the TCG if they think this card's bad because it has just 170 hit points and a fighting weakness. But boomers like you and me know this will be everywhere, just as previous generations saw Lumineon V, Tapu Lele GX, and Jirachi Uppercase EX everywhere. Despite all the words, the ability is pretty simple. Play Meowth from hand onto the bench, go get a supporter. The reason this is so powerful is because most decks will run 4 Ultra Ball post-rotation, so Meowth turns an Ultra Ball into a supporter. Early on, that's a Lily's determination, while late, it's a boss's. Yes, Meowth is always a risk, especially if you have to put a Pheasantipity into play as well. But when you win for the 100th time this year thanks to Meowth finding boss for game, you'll be glad it exists. Of course, Meowth's usefulness doesn't end with Lilies and bosses. You'll find some decks out there that run 3 or 4 copies of the Kitty Cat. Why? Because we live in a world where you don't have to rely on supporters for card draw every single turn. In something like Raging Bolt or a Terra Box deck, you can use Meowth every turn to find Crispin. Then use Knocked Out to grab your items or tools with Pheasantipity drawing 3 after someone's knocked out. And in any Stage 2 deck, Meowth becomes maximum consistency, grabbing you a Dawn to find a basic Stage 1 and Stage 2. So yes, this is another card that makes Dragapult EX better. Now, I know I made it seem like it's all Solrock and Ho-Ohs for Meowth, but there's obvious drawbacks. If they have a Team Rocket's Watchtower in play and you can't bump it, the thing's useless. And this stadium will see a lot of play because it also shuts off Noctowl, the Dunsparce, Fan Rotom, Bloodwinter, Saluna EX, and Mega Kangaskhan. Additionally, Mega Lucario one-shots it with Aura Jab. But remember, Brout is the worst name for a Pokemon ever. Also, if they're targeting Meowth, they're not going after your main attacker. I guess I should also mention that there is an attack on Meowth. It sucks, only dealing 60 damage and requiring 3 energy. Despite that, you may find yourself using it from time to time as Tuck Tail puts Meowth back into your hand. So not only does it clear a potential liability off the field, you can reuse its ability again the following turn. To sum up everything I just said in one elegant sentence, Kitty Cat strong, every deck use it, if Dumb Kid at pre-release wants to trade it for your Esper, do it. In pretty much any other set, Telepathic Psychic Energy would have been number 1. That just goes to show you how awesome Meowth is. Because Telepathic Energy is literally a double nest ball for Psychic types. Twice the card Capture Energy was, when you attach Telepathic Energy to a Psychic type, you can put any 2 basic Psychic types from your deck directly onto your bench. Yeah, this is crazier than my ex-wife who thinks Gekwa is a better starter than Pombon. By far the biggest user is Alakazam. It allows Mr. Spoony to both attack and get 2 Abra for free, saving your Poffins for Dunsparce. Since it can get any basic Psychic type though, you'll also find use for Telepathic in Jellicent, Slowking, anything running Lily's Clefairy Latios, Mega Diancie, and even Hops Trevenant. It's clear Creatures is doing their best to lower the power level of cards this year, yet they give us an energy that is a double freaking nest ball. They clearly didn't want Psychic to suffer too much with the loss of Gardevoir. Let me start number 3 by saying the top 2 cards in perfect order are on a whole nother level than the bottom 8 top 10 cards. I could honestly put these in any order because most of them are single-use cases like most of the women I match with on Tinder. As in, they only help one deck and don't have universal appeal like Meowth and Telepathic. Barbaracle is a nice bridge though, because while it mostly makes the Baby Okidogi deck a real threat post-rotation, it also has a place in things like Lucario, Garchomp, and, well, anything that needs more than 1 fighting energy. Once per turn per Barbaracle, you can accelerate a fighting energy from hand to any one of your fighting Pokemon. Doesn't matter if it's in the active or on the bench or has ugly toes. For Lucario and Garchomp specifically, Barnacle Boy allows you to take a naked one, then immediately power it up, dealing either 270 or 260 damage for 2 energy. In those cases, you might only need a 1/1 line because PDCGL prizing would never screw you over, right? But in 90% of deck lists featuring Barbaracle, you'll have a 2/2 line to feed the fat dog. Accelerate 1 fighting, manually attach a Prism or Legacy, now Okidogi's dealing 170 damage while boasting 230 hit points. And thanks to cards like Fighting Dawn and Premium Power Pro, Good Punch gets even stronger. Now, if only there was an easy way to recover lost fighting Pokemon and energy that's better than Lana's Aid. Well, I hope your tongue's ready because I'm about to feed you some Tarragon. A tulip for fighting types, Tarragon allows you to recover 4 in any combination of fighting Pokemon or basic fighting energy. Considering that you'll be playing Ultra Ball to find Mega Lucario and Lunatone discards fighting energy to draw 3, having a way to recover resources is huge. Unfortunately, unless you're playing that Okidogi deck, Tarragon's really only a single copy in most fighting decks. Item-based recovery already exists in the form of energy retrieval and Night Stretcher, making Tarragon's ability to get 4 cards not as necessary. So you might only include 1 copy in Garchomp or Lucario as a safety precaution. But in something like Okidogi, it's 2 or 3 because it lets you get back in Okidogi the fighting energy it had attached plus up to 2 more energy you discard through Lunatone draws. And the biggest benefit is that you can bring back a baby Ursaluna plus 3 energy, immediately powering it up and beating off whoever you want. I have no desire to put Rosa's Encouragement anywhere on this list because the biggest user is Dragapult. But Dragapult is the best deck post-rotation by a kilometer, so my feet are tied. Another instance where you just want 1 copy in your deck, Rosa accelerates any 2 basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Stage 2 Pokemon so long as you're behind on prizes. Well, you'll never guess, but Dragapult has 2 cards that can make Rosas a guarantee throughout the duel. If they're playing the Dusknoir build, they can blow one up, soften up one of your Megas or EXs, then Rosa's 2 energy to a Dragapult. And if they can't naturally find Rosa through all of their Dracloak and Fezandipity, they can Meowth for it. Just like how Barbaracle is mostly used in Okidogi, the vast majority of decks running Rosa feature Dragapult. But Garchomp has a use for it as well, since Draconic Buster requires 2 fighting. You could also put Rosa in a Hydreigon or Greninja deck, but again, Dragapult is the best partner. Because while you do want to use Crispin early, without Super Rod in format, Rosa allows you to reuse energy that's already in the discard pile. As I said earlier, pretty much everything past the top 2 can be placed in any order. So why not put Naveen here since I didn't give him the respect he deserved upon first reveal? It's not my fault. I underestimated just how impactful the losses of Ino and Arven would be to card draw, opening up a gaping wet hole for unexpected supporters, including Naveen, who's a reprint of Sightseer with a different name. Play Naveen, discard any number of cards from your hand, then drop to 5. This single-footedly helps keep Archaludon relevant, who loses Earthen Vessel to rotation. And Cerule Edge now has access to a discard supporter other than Carmine, meaning you can protect necessary resources while still filling up the discard pile. And let's not forget about Wonders Patch and Glass Trumpet accelerating energy from the card graveyard as well. While Naveen's usefulness hasn't been widespread like my mouth when I see a foot, it's still a playable supporter in a world where we need them. Plus, at the end of a game, Naveen can be a great way to remove unnecessary cards. Let's say you're playing Grimmsnarl and already have a Spike Myth down as well as 2 more Spike Myth in hand. Or you're playing Dragapult and all you need for game is the boss's orders, but you want to protect against an unfair stamp. Get rid of everything that's not going to help you win with Naveen's discard effect, then prove to them that unfair stamp is a lie next turn. Because I don't want the rest of the video to just be trainers, let's switch things over to the Megas. Statistically speaking, can you guess which has been the most successful in Japan so far? There's only 4 to choose from, which is disappointing in its own right, but to help narrow it down, I'll give you a hint. It's not Skarmory, who looks absolutely terrible in English, and I can't believe the Pokemon Company released this image showing it off. It's not Mega Clefable either, which is more disappointing than the Legends ZA DLC. It's actually Mega Starmie. While it's definitely cooled off since getting off to that amazing start where it was one of the best decks post-rotation, the usefulness is still there. For a single water, it does 120 damage to their active plus 50 to someone on their bench. Pair it with Froslass and Mega Froslass, you have a great spread deck headlined by somebody who can one-shot a Monkey Dory. And what's really fun is that some lists are including a single copy of Glalie as well, meaning your Snorunt can evolve into 3 different things, all of which are great in different situations. While Froslass is easily the best partner, Starmie is also popping up in Greninja decks alongside Dusknoir. Greninja already plays Ignition Energy, so you have the option to use Nebula Beam, dealing 210 damage and going through effects like Crustals. But the spiciest combo I've seen is running it in a Bronzong Evolution lock deck. That one already plays Salvatore, which Starmie can also take advantage of. Basically, you Bronzong several times early, then when the time is right, you blow them, knocking out their 2 biggest unevolved threats. I'll also point out that even if Starmie doesn't do well in our current format, it could see play when Chaos Rising is out in May. After all, Mega Greninja is able to put 6 damage counters on somebody when it's in the active. Surfing Beach into another Greninja, do it again, Air Balloon into Starmie, and you can pick targets off like a nose. Believe it or not, the second most used Mega from Perfect Order in Japan is Skarmory. The reason isn't you, it's actually Fezandipity and Meowth. Sonic Ripper, which is what happens after you eat too many burgers at Sonic and rip a hole in your pants from all the farting, does 220 damage for 2 metal and a colorless. That's perfect for KOing any Fez or Meowth sitting on the bench, thinking they're safe after you play a supporter that's not bosses. Depending on how you look at it, Skarmory putting all the energy back in your deck is a bonus, because you really only want the Angry Bird to see the field when it's ready to attack. Starting it sucks as it's a 3-prize liability, but at least the free retreat is nice. Anyway, the reason why shuffling the energy back in is good is because the top 2 partners for Skarmory are Steven's Metagross and Metang. Both accelerate energy from the deck, meaning you can reuse their abilities the following turn and put that energy onto someone else. That's unfortunately bad news for our Chaladon, who wants the energy in the discard pile, so the combo there isn't as strong. Despite being used to help propel Steven's Metagross to lots of wins post-rotation, you'll never have more than 1 copy of Skarmory in your deck. Metagross accelerates a Psychic and Metal, so you pair it with alternate attackers like Mega Diancie, Mega Mawile, and Lily Clefairy. Metang, meanwhile, also uses things like Mawile, Heatran, and Regigigas. So Skarmory's good, it's just not good enough to carry a deck. Before you question this decision, first think about how I'm not wearing socks right now. Then think about how many good fighting types attack for a single energy. Finally, think about how Alakazam is arguably the 3rd best deck post-rotation and its attack is in effect. Now do you understand why Rocky Fighting Energy is in the 9 hole? It's boring and nowhere near as strong as Telepathic Energy, but Rocky Fighting Energy is a mist energy for fighting types. While it doesn't stop the 200 damage Phantom Dive deals, if Rocky Energy is attached to someone on your bench, it's protected against the 6 damage counters. Plus, it also prevents Mega Absol from perioding all over you. Now, obviously the main problem is Enhanced Hammer. Alakazam will typically play 2 copies post-rotation to combat both Rocky and Mist, so you have a decision to make. Either run 1 Rocky and hope they prize both Enhanced Hammer, run 2 and hope they only have 1 Hammer, or outpace their Enhanced Hammers and have 3. Whatever you decide, Rocky Fighting Energy has the capability of turning tough matchups into easy wins. The 10th and final spot came down to Mega Zygarde versus Jacynth. While Jacynth has seen a rise in play lately, I'm still not convinced it's better than Wally's Compassion in most situations, so the mascot for Perfect Order comes in the rear. While you're probably already cooking up lists for this card in your head, my catchphrase for the entire video rings true here once again. Zygarde works best as a single copy in an existing deck. Yeah, with enough finagling you can get a turn 2 nullifying 0 thanks to Barbaracle, but Japanese players have shown that Zygarde on its own is not a playable deck, so you have to pair it with someone good who preferably plays with their balls excessively. That's Mega Lucario. For a single fighting, Lucario can accelerate 3 fighting from your discard pile to Zygarde. That allows it to Gaia Wave, which is a fine 200 damage while reducing incoming damage by 30 on a 310 hit point 3-prizer. But the ultimate goal is to launch Nullifying 0. Get 5 fighting on Zygarde, you flip a coin for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play. If it's heads, Nullifying 0 does 150 damage to it. With a little luck, you can turn a losing matchup into a win by clearing their board of things like Dreepy or Jacloak or Riolu or Munkidori or Impidimp or Abra. Of course, Shaman's a problem keeping single prizers safe from bench damage. You could always try accompanying Flute to fill up their bench before that, but the Flute's always been more miss than hit for me. Otherwise, you're 2-shotting most every EX in the game with Nullifying 0, so long as they aren't a stupid Terra with their dumb built-in bench barrier. And if you flip heads on an active Pheasantipity or Meowth or Kangaskhan, you hit them for weakness, taking a 1-hit KO. But that's not all. By loading up Zygarde with 4 fighting, you can attach Core Memory, dealing 350 damage. Sure, you lose all energy, but you're probably only using Geobuster once to take a 3-prize KO anyway. After all, Mega Lucario tops out at 270 damage before modifiers. Zygarde gives you a way to deal with high HP stage 2s even after you've run out of Orange Gatorade. While it's not a new card, I do want to highlight Judge. Expected to be getting a reprint in Perfect Order, resetting its legality for a few more years, this becomes our best Shuffle Draw supporter post-rotation. Obviously, Unfair Stamp is better overall, but imagine how amazing you'll feel when you judge them turn 1 into a nothing hand and they immediately concede. Because that's a world we're about to enter and I'm not exactly excited. I'll freely admit that I put Tarragon and Naveen too high, but it would take like 30 seconds of work to put them lower, so I'll keep them as is. I'll have plenty more Perfect Order preview videos throughout the month, including a fully confirmed set list in the coming days, so make sure you hit that subscribe button with your pinky toe.